cloud server. Okay, so hello. This is day 4 of the anxiety clinic. I'm Kathy Basel with the Vitality Code, and it's been a good journey. Today's final message is about meaning. So with that, I wanted to launch the, oops, I guess I better share the screen so I can share some of the PowerPoint that I created for us. And, oh. All right. And Kim, you may recognize that labyrinth. Kim and I did a labyrinth walk, and it was a gong bath at the same time out at in Greenwood Village. So that's where that picture was taken. But to me, I love the labyrinth because it's a symbol of going within and the journey. There's all those twists and turns that happen in life, and it can bring us to these moments where we have time to pause and reflect. So to me, that seemed like the perfect symbol of where we are right now. So here we are, day 4, about meaning. Just wanted to do a quick recap because we've come through quite a lot. Each day I've shared a different concept, an energy technique, and we've done some emotion code clearing. Day 1 was all about calm. And the concept we used was just the simple question of when we're feeling all the angst, we're feeling caught up, and there's the big tsunami of, just angst, or maybe like you're saying, not able to sleep so well in the evening. If you just ask a simple question of who does that belong to, oftentimes right now, especially, so much of what we're going through isn't even ours. So what if you could release it instantly, that 65, 85, maybe even 90% of the angst or the insomnia or whatever is going on, the desire to eat some carbs and sugar? What if you could just wipe a big chunk of that away instantly by asking that question, and then focusing on what part is yours to deal with. The energy technique that day was the lost my mind, just simply inviting our bodies and our minds to come back into communication by putting your hand here, focusing, allowing the vital life energy to come back to our foreheads, that prefrontal cortex, where we can be calm and make some sane decisions if we're feeling like we've just kind of lost it. And then we did some emotion code releases around that. A lot of that day was around the stress and anxiety, the uncertainty, all that question. Day 2 was about focus, and the concept that we shared that day, explored, was just living into the question of like, how could this turn out even better than we can possibly even imagine, and what would it take to just like create our life in 10-second increments? Like, if you could choose right now, what is it that you would like to be experiencing? How do you want to be showing up? The technique we did that day was the quicker EFT. So that was the tapping, like thinking of the angst and tapping, allowing it, release and let it go. Release and let it go. Release and let it go. I like my favorite spot. Release and let it go. And then grounding with grounding, like calm. So that was quicker EFT technique. And then we did emotion code that day too. And then yesterday was all about connection. We did the happiness box exercise, which helped us to identify those things that we're doing good in, those areas, that all those aspects of our lives that we're doing the things that we want to be doing, and we're currently doing them. And then it gave us some perspective on some of those things that we don't want to be doing that we're doing. What if we could preen that all back like a Marie Kondo and take this time to reflect? What are those things that we've been adding to our lives that don't bring us joy? So we're not going to add those back in at the end of this beautiful time of recalibration during the quarantine. And then, and if you guys had a chance to play with the Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer, which is simply, I'm sorry, forgive me, I love you. I can't remember the 4th one, but just that simple prayer, to do that in the evening before you go to bed. It's an energy technique of forgiveness. So you forgive the circumstances of everything that's coming up with the conflict with perhaps other people. You forgive yourself, you forgive the other people, and you forgive the overall circumstance all at once. So it's a beautiful way of just releasing some of the old conflict, maybe that I think of them as old dust bunnies that we're carrying along with us that we haven't resolved in the past. And then we did some emotion code around that one too. So with that, I like to think of this time, at least for me, what is the meaning that we bring to different circumstances. For me, this time is just, it's uncanny that we've got the entire globe participating in this reset time, and we've got the gift of time. So to me, it's a time of reflection, recalibration, and the meaning I'm bringing into it for myself is to listen to the voice inside of me that was saying it's time to play a bigger game. I was taking some steps, but not big enough. So with the quiet time now, it's time for me to get deeper into meditation, get deeper into creation mode for some of the things I want to bring out and share. And just I'm thinking of calibrating in terms of unconditional love. Like, how can I bring love into everything I do, but how can I show up as the invitation for unconditional love for other people? And here again, we've got our little lady here that's such a great visual for everything being interconnected. So I like to think of my intention now of unconditional love for the grounding that we're about to go through. So let's do our quick coherence like we have every day. And we're going to use my intention of unconditional love as what we'll use to infuse our heart spaces today. So we'll start with just some nice, deep, clearing breaths. Maybe you choose to close your eyes, but sitting up nice and tall so we can allow everything to clear and cleanse easily and fully. Nice deep breaths, knowing each moment is new, fresh perspectives, fresh meaning we can give to each moment. Exhaling anything that doesn't serve us, anything that doesn't align with the joy. Breathing in. Now imagine the intention of that unconditional love breathing right into your heart space, as if your heart is breathing for you, filling up with love. I like to think of maybe there's a color you assign to unconditional love, and envision that color just filling your heart. You knowing the entire heart to be full of light, bubbly, unconditional love to the point where it starts spilling out, filling your body, going down your legs with a cord of yellow, conditional, unconditional love, going right down into Mother Earth. She's loving that connection. The cord going down to the center of the earth, down to the core where the truth of that interconnectedness lies. Breathing in and feeling grounded in the truth of who we are. A sense of calm, centeredness, presence, peace. Knowing this is a center we can connect to anytime we want. Now as we continue breathing that right in, ascend back up that yellow cord, back into our heart space. Allowing that feeling of peace and calm and love to fill our bodies. With the intention to share this out, now let's beam it out to the other people who are joining us on this call, whether live or on the recording. Beaming it out to anyone in the universe now that's looking for this exact message that we're sharing today of connection and love and meaning. And one more nice deep breath to ground that in. Beautiful. So feel free to come back now. One of the quotes I wanted to share today is from Viktor Frankl, and he's one of the first that got me. He wrote the book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he was a fellow who was incarcerated in Auschwitz for 3 years. And when he came out, he published his book. He had the inkling about what it was going to be when he went in. He had the manuscript in his pocket when he got arrested. They took it from him. It was like his life's work to have this. And then they put him in a cell where he had no contact with anyone at all. So sometimes when I'm feeling like I'm feeling incarcerated and kind of isolated from the rest of the world, I think back to Viktor Frankl, and he wrote a very inspiring book called Man's Search for Meaning. When he came out, it was sort of like Nelson Mandela, here these people can be incarcerated and somehow get outside of their circumstances to connect to the bigger spiritual meaning behind this all. So Victor's calling was to spread a source of connection, spiritual connection for more people. But I like this quote that he had. In some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. And actually, we're the ones who get to create the meaning. So what if nothing that happens in our life, think about back all the past crash and burns we've had, what if none of those were either good or bad or right or wrong, but they were the turns that our life took, the exact things that our soul called in order for us to know ourselves better. I like to think in terms of contrast, like those, that it's like, oh, I'm definitely off the path right now. Like these heartbreaks or these things that I would deem as failures actually felt like a failure in that moment. But when you look back, it's like, wow, that time when I lost my job was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it opened up space for me to encounter the next thing that was coming into life. So I always tend to be that kind of eternal optimist. People will be losing their jobs or losing their relationships, and I'm always the one celebrating, because I know anytime we have those things that seem like endings, it's at the same time a new beginning, and it's for us to find that the circumstance with which that happens. I wanted to share one of my favorite stories. It's actually a parable about the Chinese farmer, and I may bastardize this. There's different variations of it, but it's called Maybe So, Maybe Yes, or Maybe So, Maybe No. And it's the parable about a Chinese farmer who had, back then, that's all they had. He made his livelihood by farming. And one day his horse ran away, jumped the fence and got away. And all the villagers came in and they're like, oh no, your horse has run away. How will you tend to your garden? And he said, they're seeing it as a very bad thing. And he said, maybe so, maybe no. And so then the next day, the horse comes back, and with him comes a number of other horses, wild horses. 4 or 5 other horses were following him, and he was able to capture the horses. And horses back then were seen as a sign of prosperity. So the villagers all circled around and said, oh, how wonderful. Now you've got all these great horses. And the Chinese farmer said, yes, maybe no. And so the next day, his son was out trying to tame or break one of the horses, one of the wild horses. So he's on the horse, and the horse bucks him off. His son breaks his leg. The villagers circle around and they say, oh no, your son has broken a leg. He's not going to be able to help you to farm anymore. And the Chinese farmer says, maybe yes, maybe no. And so the next day, the war that had been waging in the far off land was getting more intense. So there was a call for all the villagers' kids to have to go to the front lines to fight this war. And so the ending of this parable is that the Chinese farmer's son was actually lucky not to have to go to war. So it helps us to see a little perspective here, that oftentimes the things that we are maybe quick to assign judgment to as something that's bad or even something that's good, sometimes in the longer term isn't as bad as what it may look like at the surface. So those times when we can start to feel sorry for ourselves as we're kind of pent up here, it's like, oh no, here we are, we're stuck, we can't do, these, maybe we had trips we were going to do, we really miss getting together with other people, I miss my family. It's like, close up that might look like a bad thing, and yet how can we find the meaning and bring the meaning to what the situation is and get creative, tap into that creative, resourceful, and whole that we talked about the other day. Zoom has been such a godsend. You know, I've been able to connect with my sisters even more since we've been isolated than I have been beforehand. So yeah, it's kind of funny. How can we find the meaning for ourselves? So for me, I'm taking this as the kick in the pants. Like for me, the situation has been my little voice at the beginning of the year was saying for me to play a bigger game in my business and step more fully into that. I think I explained yesterday how I've always had a foot in the safety zone. So oftentimes that can be one of the things we're exploring yesterday is how we don't go all in. So how is this potentially a cosmic kick in the pants for you to go all in on something you've already known to be a calling for you, but you haven't been willing or able or had the time maybe to explore it fully? So here's just some things I wanted to explore. Kim, do you mind if I pick on you as an example? Oh, we're kind of frozen here.
Yeah, pick on me anytime.
Oh, I love picking on you. Awesome. So can I have you answer these questions along with us? So if I'm honest with myself, my little voice inside, like it's been calling for us for a while and maybe we haven't been listening. What is there anything that comes to mind for you that maybe there's been a calling that up until now just hasn't been right for you to explore, but maybe now it is?
Yeah, as you were talking, what popped in was reach a bigger audience. And I don't exactly have it nailed down what that is. It might just be music classes for preschoolers on YouTube, or it might be something bigger. I'm really interested in children who are on the spectrum and feel broken, and parents feel shame, and but I feel like those kids are on the cutting edge of this new evolution and they have so much to offer. So I don't exactly know how all of that will come together, but yeah, I think just somehow be a vehicle for truth to come through to a bigger audience.
Yeah. And it's fun because sometimes the little voice gives us just an inkling. It's like maybe it's even an energetic. It's like, wow, I want more adventure or something like that, but we don't know the how. The cursed hows isn't our job to get into. But I love how you presented that of just this bigger audience, and you've got some of the pieces of the puzzle. So it's music, and you know kind of your target is to help these amazing new souls that are coming in, these kids that are seemingly on the spectrum but have these amazing gifts. So that's beautiful. And I like how you are leaning into all this. So sometimes I think we say we want to do something, like I was saying earlier at the beginning of the year. I knew that it was time for me to lean in. And so what I was saying was that I wanted to play bigger. And what I was actually doing was maybe some baby steps towards that, but I'm fully capable of a lot more than that. So is there something, and maybe it's not, you know, whatever the time frame is for you, Kim, of something that you've been saying that you were wanting to do, but maybe what you were actually doing was a little bit less or a little bit different than that?
Well, the two big things, one is hoarding, which I think the root of I've gotten to recently was that I felt like I needed to add value to myself, like that I didn't have enough value. So I've been saying I want it gone, I want all this stuff gone, and I want space. But the truth is, I've just been bringing in more with this underlying belief that it would somehow add value. I kind of think that's the big one. There's other things. I think there's a lot of things we say we want, but we're moving in the opposite direction.
Yeah, yeah, and it's cool because sometimes I think we will shy away from the growth, that the very growth that we're being called to step into. Sometimes we'll retreat because there's that fear of will I, the outcome fear, will it be accepted? Will I be good? Well, do I have what it takes? Why would anybody want to work with me? Those kinds of questions of fear and hesitance can come up. But I really, really love what you brought up about the hoarding and what you found it was representing to you. And I did the Feng Shui challenge thing earlier this year too, of letting go 27 items for 9 days. And it was fascinating to watch myself like get into that observer mode and just watch my own behavior when it was hard to let go of things. And that's what it was. It was the things that had some kind of value. Even though they weren't valuable to me, they had value, or they were given to me and still had value. But the truth is, we get to shake that out now and see what is it that we can let go. And as you were saying, that the stuff you may be holding on to represents value, but so what's the flip side of that? Now, how can you recognize the value in yourself? I wonder, is there an affirmation in there, Kim, that you might like to proclaim, that like value isn't something we it's almost like that external versus I'm bringing the value. Like some people talk about in terms of joy, of like joy isn't something you find, it's something you bring. So I wonder if there's a affirmation in there we can come up with for you.
Yeah, I'll think about that. Sorry, I have a little resistance to that because, of course, doing this kind of work, you hear all the time that you have value and you're worthy and you're good enough and blah, blah, blah. So for me, the affirmations were not the big shift point.
Yeah.
But and I have been calling it an installation instead of an affirmation, because for me, an affirmation is like from my brain. It's just a linkage of words. For other people, it's deeply spiritual, so I don't mean to dishonor that. But in my experience, an affirmation was just a link of words that I would try to convince myself was true. But so now I'm calling it an installation, as if I'm actually somehow inserting it into my own hard drive. Like it's like I have a USB port and it becomes a part of me. And that is that I reclaim my original value.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
But that could be an affirmation for someone. I'm just looking at it with a little different lens.
Yeah, no, I love that distinction. And for me too, I think affirmations, as you said, it was almost like we're trying to put lipstick on a pig kind of a thing. And it could never, if you've got all those limiting beliefs within, then it's never going to soak in and for you to be able to embody that. So sometimes I like to make the target of like, wow, I really want to own my value. It's time for me to own my value. And then we look back and use the emotion code. It's like, oh, wow, I've got resistance to that. We can do the muscle testing and see, you know what, I'm only 65% aligned with what it is I say that I really want. So we can go in. In fact, let's put that on the things to clear when we get to the emotion code part of that. And I think it's great. That's a universal one for all of us right now. We obviously have our individual paths, and then there's all these collective questions right now. I think we're all being called to bring our gifts in a bigger way and to play our part, not to try to be so, up until now, I think we've been operating from that space of independence, and those, like the little girls we were talking about, when we get in, damaged daddy issues or whatever it is as a kid, we might resolve to be independent and strong. Now I think it's time for us to break down those independence walls, become interconnected, find your special gift, your unique thing, and shine your gorgeous light, Kim. So for all of us to and again, for us not to shine our light in the roles that we think we need to play based on somebody else's requirements. It's like we've done that. We've taken that time up until now, and now we get to choose something that's completely in alignment with who we came here to be. We're all unique. We're all have our special gifts, our own calling, and now the kick in the pants, or this little time out, gives us the luxury of time to reflect on when were those times that I felt like I was in the flow, and what was the gift that I was bringing then, and aligning with that as we move forward. So yeah, so Kim, I'm going to continue with you since we've got this theme going. So what you say you wanted, and like you said, of the letting go of the items, and the truth is it was hard to let go of some of that stuff. So what is the feeling that came around along with that? How that makes me feel is,
Um, yeah, just loss, just so much uh, loss and dread, like about the future. Like some of the things that really need to go are some of my teaching materials. Like I could be more efficient with less because I've internalized a lot of my teaching, but it feels like yeah, doubt. Like well, maybe I haven't internalized it. Maybe I need that as a piece of paper. Like I'm not even scanning this stuff and putting it, in a flash drive, which would really free up some space, but allow me to have access. So yeah, but the feeling when it's like, oh yeah, maybe I should let this go. I could get tightened up in my stomach. I have dread, but I'm going to need that in the future because I don't really know exactly what's coming. So that's the feeling.
yeah, yeah. And just as you said, then it sits in our bodies too. So it can be sitting in your stomach, or it might be, the congestion around the lungs, because we don't want to breathe in life fully. So we find ourselves breathing really shallowly.
Oh, yes, I've actually been congested, not in my lungs, but I've just kind of been a little. That's fascinating. I didn't even connect that. Good work.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's cool, if we just take this time again to reflect how the mind and body are working together. The body's trying to let us know it knows it's the house of the soul, or the subconscious, that already knows what it is that our soul wants to express as, or what we need to heal. It's signaling us. We just kind of get busy. And that was one of the things I'm letting go. On my let go list is the addiction to busyness, and it's rooted in the same kind of thing that you're talking about, is how do we source our value. So there's different ways now that we're being called to source our value, to source our confidence, as we were talking about yesterday, that the new future that we're going to create has never existed before. So we don't have the pieces out there to create and say, okay, one of these, two of those, and a purple one of them. Now we're creating from something completely, you know, in a way, kind of unrealistic, if you will, because we're creating only from our imagination at times. So, yeah. So we get to decide, is this time in isolation, is this a gift, or is this a burden? And when we can actively engage in this kind of introspection, it can become the biggest gift for all of us. Yeah, one of the exercises that I share in La Femme Salon that you guys will be getting is, I call it timelining, where we go back and look at, you might have done something similar when you kind of reflect on the things that brought you to this moment now, all those pivotal moments in our life where things seem to get bounced in a completely different direction. A lot of those times were inspired from pain or loss or grief or something along those lines. And up until now, we've been defining it and maybe carrying along those feelings of grief and loss and disappointment. And when we go back to it with this exercise, we look at, what was your soul yearning for at that time? It's like we got to this dead end and it felt like a loss, but it's like, oh, wait, what that really gave me was the gift of the awareness that, like for me right now, I'm really clear that I'm ready for loving partnership in my life. So a crash and burn of being here and isolated is a perfect awareness that my soul is looking for communion with someone. So yeah, so it's kind of fun when we look in bring the perspective of the past up until this point now, create this timeline of all of this. These bits and pieces have all been pointing you in the direction of your purpose. And so we're at this moment in time now that can be pivotal as you put these pieces together in a new way. We don't have to do it the same way we've been doing it up until now. The habitual thoughts, the habitual patterns that we've used to get us to this point now, we get to kind of shake them out and see what makes sense for you moving forward. Does anybody else want to chime in on questions or comments, awarenesses, anything? All right. So this is just a good line of questioning to use for yourself of what is it that I say that I want? What am I actually doing? You know, am I truly showing up? How that makes me feel and where I feel that in my body. And then in a way, we can go through those same questions again and ask, okay, now that I've come to the awareness that I wasn't playing as big as I wanted to, now how can I do this? What I say I want is, you know what, I am going for that bigger impact and kind of do this as a future cast. What I'm now willing to do is I'm going to get more active around this. I'm going to start creating more and putting more out there. Some of the fears that came up around that were, you know, fear of being seen, fear of the crash and burn. And then we'll do some of the emotion code again around releasing some of those things. But we also get to get clear on how we want to feel moving forward. How do you want to show up when you are, you know, after this period? Do you want to be enthusiastically engaged in your life? Do you want to show up with loving connections? Do you want to show up, you know, in contribution to other people? So, yeah. So what we can do now while we're in confinement is think of those feelings that you want to feel. Like for me, enthusiasm and connection is one or two. So what are some of the micro ways you can bring that into your isolation time? So as you're making your bed, can you be the best darn bed maker that ever was? You know, do that with the gusto and enthusiasm, or, you know, striving for excellence. Can you, for me, a time of connection. So I'm taking extra time to reach out, even just with simple text or hopping on Zooms. Like I said, I'm organizing Zoom calls for my sisters. Getting all four of us on all together is always a challenge. You know, we're on different time zones and just like herding cats, but we've gotten together now more than we have before. So connection is that important piece for me. So what are some of those things that your heart's been calling for that you can bring in micro, you know, times right now? And then recognizing too that your body's signaling you. Do you want to feel energetic? Do you want to, what can we do right now? So we're in isolation and obviously we can't get to the gym and do those things right now, but what are some of the ways that we can use our body to elevate our state, which is exactly what the energetic technique is going to be for today. And this is what I just wanted to presence for all of us, that it's our time, guys. This is like the time we've all been waiting for. The people on this call are people who want to uplift, connect with others, and help uplift people. We've got a message to share. So yeah, now's a good time. Took this Oprah Winfrey quote, and passion is energy. Feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you. So to me, I took that for how can we integrate that right now? A good question to sit with is, what's one thing that you can get excited about today? Even in the midst of this isolation, how can we connect our future vision with something that we can do today, or read today, or expand upon today, share today with someone? So that's a great question to sit with. The energy technique for today is inspired by one of my heroes, Tony Robbins, who is like the king of changing your state, using your physiology. So I put down here, your physiology actually can change your psychology. So as we're sitting around feeling sorry for ourselves or stagnant because it's like, oh man, I haven't been to the gym, I haven't gotten my workouts in, like how can we recognize that we're feeling stagnant and then use our body to change our state. One of my favorite affirmations that Tony uses is this one down here: every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Yes. So he's big into using our body. This picture expresses, he's going big with his life. How are we shutting ourselves down on this daily basis to do this? One of the techniques he uses is, he calls it the hour of power, or you can do 15 minutes in the morning of moving your body while finding, he calls them incantations. So rather than affirmations, or I do like Kim's word of installations, he calls them incantations. So you repeat it over and over. Your body is kind of like the pump. So it's generating the emotion through the motion of your body to actually like infuse. We've got trillions of cells. We want to just make this marinade of a positive thought. So his technique is, if you spend, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes to do this, is to first begin in a state of gratitude. Think of all those things that you can be grateful for in this moment. I'm grateful for my house, for my garden that's growing, for my dog, for Zoom, thank goodness, for my sisters that are checking in on me, like all these things, because that state of the vibration of love and gratitude, or the higher vibrations, what will pull us out of that space of stagnation and feeling sorry for ourselves. So just even as little as 20 seconds, 30 seconds is enough to change your state. But if you consciously put your focus on this space of gratitude and those things that you can be grateful for even now, and one of the things we were talking about yesterday is not the achieving, but just even being grateful for the progress that you're making towards a goal or a focus that you have in your life, can be enough to keep us fully awake. So he spends 3 minutes in gratitude is what he suggests. Getting out in nature, moving your body. And he's like, okay, now let's do this intentionally. So you're out there on your walk and you're moving your body big, you're doing your arms. And then he layers in this incantation. And every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Yes. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Yes. And then he says one additional way, and this is a NLP technique to ingrain it into our psyche, is to tap on your fingers. So the index, middle, ring. And so as you're saying it, do this with your fingers, and that will actually, and you can use whatever incantation you want. This is just one that I always resonates for me, is every day in every way I'm feeling better and better. Yes, every day in every way I'm feeling better and better. And as you're outside in nature is a space that we can go where we're safe, we're not being judged, we're connecting with the universal energy that's available to us everywhere out there. And then generating this motion with your body, and then ingraining your positive statement in with this finger exercise, it really can go a long ways towards using our physiology to change the state of our psychology to a higher state of where we're present and positive and ready to affirm, yes, it's our time. Gina, do you have, you want to chime in with anything?
Well, the gratitude thing is huge. I've had experience where I did a daily gratitude practice, an email with a group of women, and it changed my life. So I like that technique, and I don't know why I forget about it. And that saying is a saying I learned through the Silva method when I was 9 years old in the 19th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every day, except it was every day in every way I am getting better, better, and better.
Oh.
So I'm right in the right place. Thank you.
Good. Awesome. Liz, do you want to chime in with anything? She's like a master of this stuff. She's my one of my rocks, somebody I speak to every day, and we just affirm this kind of stuff for each other.
Okay. Well, this is wild that you picked this picture because last night I was on a call with our friend Karen Van Cleve and we were talking about physiology and she said, throw your hands up and say something like, I'm a loser. And you can't change your state and say something that doesn't match what your body is doing. And it really resonated with me when we went through the process of your physiology and your psychology.
Yeah, and that's a good one to think. I mean, here we are kind of closed down physically. And so it's just good to remember that. Just that's great that you said the expansion piece.
Yeah.
It's like, my goodness. And I almost think, yeah, something as simple as that.
Yeah. And when you think about it, you never throw your hands up and go, I suck. Never. So it's funny at the same time. It's like, yes, I did it, or I can do it. And it really changes everything else in your body. And then, so she talked about physiology, focus, and then the language that you use with all three of them. And I don't know what he calls it, the triad or triangle or something like that. But so it's great to hear a similar message or the same message 2 days in a row. So I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and that is his triad is the triad is focus, which we talked about the other day, of where are you putting your focus, language of just like you said, of matching your language with what you really do. You're not walking around, we are subconsciously maybe saying I'm a loser or I can't play big, and then here we are on the outside trying to trudge ahead and do big things. It's like, you got that shit going on. You're not going to be able to step into this regardless of how much you do it. So
that's right.
Yeah. And then
so I have to hop off. Thank you for the love and the insight, and bye everybody, and stay safe. Okay, bye.
So just a reminder with this kind of thing, as we're closed down physically, being in isolation is just to infuse into your day, like even schedule it if you have to. And it can be small increments, I've got a 7-minute workout that's a Tabata workout that is just alternating. Like you go all out for 20 seconds and then you slow down for 10 seconds. And you could do it with any kind of exercise. You just keep alternating 20 seconds full out, 10 seconds of kind of slower recovery. And you can do it if you're going for a walk in the park. You could just in fact, that would only take 4 minutes of repeating that 8 times is enough to completely get your heart rate, get the blood flowing, get oxygen to your head. Like that does so much to change our physiology. And we really don't have excuses anymore. I used to use the excuse that I would get busy and not have time for my exercise, but I'm like, gosh, too bad somebody doesn't invent like a 10-minute online streaming video that would be worthwhile. And sure enough, I subscribe to Daily Burn, and there's a 10-minute video, and it's excellent. So I really have no excuses either. Not every day to get in at least that 10 minutes. And I think right now when we're in isolation, it's super important that we take maybe 3 5-minute breaks to do some really focused, and it can be as easy as that of like, yes, I'm saying yes to my dreams. I'm saying yes, we're going to get out of here one of these days. I'm saying yes, this is all going to be better than I could possibly have imagined going in. So awesome. So with that, here's another way that sometimes we're inclined to change our state. So eating can be one of those ways that we can change our state. Another thing that we can do to change our state is simply smile, because there's like 40 or 60, wait, I think I got this number someplace. There might be, no, 80 muscles in our face in order to smile. It takes 80 muscles. So give yourself an excuse to smile every day. And usually hopping on the phone, FaceTime Live, or one of these things is a great way to come face to face with someone else. So you get that chance to exercise those smiling things. So let's go into the emotion code. And I think we already hit on some good themes that we can clear. The ones that I wrote down were dread, lost, wishy-washy, and shame. Are there any others that you guys want to throw in there as you think about yeah, what this next stage holds for you. Those are already some good ones.
How about confusion?
Oh yeah, there's that. That's a good one. Okay. It's nice and quiet, so feel free to leave yourself unmuted. So let's just dive in.
I've got another one. Hello.
Hi, Pia. I didn't see you there.
I'm here too. I don't know why you can't see me because I'm still like, I'm using the same thing as the other day and it's not working for some reason. But I can hear you and I can see everything. So
Okay, good.
I'm here. Can we throw in, sorry, I lost it again, insecurity and creative insecurity as well?
No, you're gonna have to hold on to that one. Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
yes, we'll do it. We'll do it. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's because I'm sharing my screen that the extra window showing Collins are not there. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling like right. I don't know if that's liver area. It's kind of like under this right rib. Yeah, I guess that's liver. All right. So let's see. In fact, let's find out where dread is sitting. Okay, so with love and intention, we'll release those trapped emotions of dread and everything it represents through all time and space, all dimensions of our bodies. With love and intention, release the trapped emotion of lost. Ooh, wow. Well, let's cast out our intention too, to include like those 100,000 other souls that want to join in on this, because I'm thinking this is all kicked up for all of us right now, so that monstrous feeling of being lost and everything that represents us and all those folks, everything it represents. We'll throw in the trapped emotion of wishy-washy and everything that represents for all time and space, all dimensional bodies, all the trapped emotion around shame, where we've been playing small because we're shamed, and everything that represents for all time and space, all dimensions and all bodies. To confusion and everything that represents through all time and space, all dimensions and all bodies. Breathing in that big sense of insecurity that's kicked up right now. Everywhere we're harboring that. Everything it represents through all time and space, all dimensions, all bodies. And the big one, the Mac Daddy, creative insecurity and everything that represents through all time and space, all dimensions and all bodies. So I kind of feel like an installation is in called for. Pia, can I pick on you? Is that your puppy?
Yeah, that's the dog. She's waiting for food. And she's singing.
Awesome. So on the other side of creative insecurity, it's on the other side. Once you've broken through and you're self-actualized, or what does that look like?
The other side of creative insecurity, I guess it's the actually having that access to that creativity and that self-esteem and that freedom as well. That freedom to express and yeah, not to be judged.
Awesome. And how about being so grounded in who you are that you're willing to be judged? Because there's always going to be those who judge you. Ouch, and everything that just brought up.
Definitely.
Yeah. Would you be willing to be judged as the lunatic creative genius that you are? You know?
Yes, I am.
I think so. I love you. I love your laugh because you've got like this little sprite energy in you of just like teehee. So, all right. So all that you kicked up with love and intention, let's release the trapped emotions that would keep us from being that crazy, offbeat, unrealistic creator that we came here to be. Anything that would keep us from manifesting and expressing with our unique gifts. Find our freak flags high. Everything that represents time and space, all dimensions and all bodies, we'll just release that. Anywhere that it feels unsafe to step into that fully, anywhere we feel we're not deserving to have that level of creative expression and confidence and individuality expressed. Any reasons, limiting thoughts, old emotional resonance keeping us from believing that we can even, that it's even possible, that it's okay for us to have that. Anywhere that we're waiting for permission from somebody outside of us. Silly us, but now we recognize deeming you got permission. So awesome. Good. That is nice and light. So I think I have everybody's email addresses. I will upload these recordings and give you a YouTube thing. And I'm also going to send you my favorite little 5-minute workout from a fellow called the, I think he's the workout marshal or something like that. It's very funny. Have you seen that, Kim? You look like it's, he does a spoof on working out, and it's a great way to absolutely get your physiology pumped up and moving. Yeah, he's a hoot. But he does a spoof on staying alive and being stuck inside in isolation. So it's a fun way. We get to exercise our smile muscles and our bodies and our sense of humor so that we can all find lightness in this time. But is there anything anybody else would like to chime in with today before we head off?
I just had one other thing, and as you were doing like an affirmation or installation at the end, one thing popped in was inner strength. You know, if we had confidence in our inner strength, that would be that'd be a lovely thing to take us through this.
Yeah.
So,
So I experienced this vision of think about where we are and then what you want to create, and then allow yourself to elevate off the earth and looking back down, like we've got that, what do they call it, the 50,000 foot view. And when you're out there, look down at all the strings and the entanglements that came up with you about when we think in terms of being confident and self-embodied and fully expressed. And just think of that net that's been cast over us up until now. It's like this collective caca that we've been entangled with, like that. How much of that wasn't even ours? And can we just think of those threads and just cutting those threads, anything that kept us from having that self-esteem moving forward, knowing within ourselves that all we need to do is bring our fullest, be clear on the gifts that you want to share with other people, because that's all they are. You've got talents, you can bring that and offer these in contribution to other people. So yeah, let's clear it while we're at it too. So anything that we can do, bring up any emotional resonance that might be connected to having us be 110% so confident and grounded in who we are and the gift that we are in this world. With love and intention, we'll release all that resonance and everything it represents through all time and space, all dimensions and all bodies. What if we could, the lungs represent breathing in life fully. So when we take a nice deep breath and allow that newness, think of that as new possibility entering our bodies and infusing our cells. We've got 9 trillion cells, they say. So what if each of those is infused with a sense of possibility that's grounded in that confidence and ultimately the interconnectedness that we all came here to be. So it's safe now to be ourselves, to lower those barriers that we've used up until now to keep us safe. They worked up until now and they're just not needed. They're irrelevant now.
and I just had one other thing.
Yeah, they're good.
Just connected to what you just said. Sometimes I listen to the comedy channel on the radio. And in the Denver area, it's 103.1, and it's just snips of comedy all day long. But there's been a couple of serious ones from Ellen DeGeneres. One of them was that she had a dream about a little finch that lived in a bird cage. But one day the door was open and the window was open, and yet the bird just stayed in the cage. And she said the very next day is when she came out of the closet. She grasped the meaning of that dream. And then the second one that I caught was someone asked her, in the darkest times when you had come out and then you lost your show and no one would hire you, how did you get through those darkest times? And there was a long pause, and then she said, well, I guess I just followed my inner light that I didn't even know I had.
Ooh, swing.
Yeah, and I just thought of, it just struck me because that level of chaos and disappointment and dread and despair is not dissimilar to what many people are feeling right now. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. Adding to meaning.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. And just to think on what a global scale, like people, the visibility, here we are, you know, being afraid to be seen by, you know, what, 100 people? she's on television and loses that. So goodness. Awesome. So Pia, is there anything that you'd like to share before we head out?
No, not really. Yeah, thanks for reminding of a lot of things where I feel that they're actually, I know them inside, but it's, as one of the others said before, it's so easy to forget them so it's always good to have someone reconnecting you with that inner wisdom. And yeah, just focusing more on that. So.
Yeah. And it's important to surround yourself with people that are going to connect in, like-minded people that are kind of on that same path. And so that's one of the things. I'll flip to, so this is what we talked about today, finding meaning, changing your state, and doing some emotion code. And then ultimately, Pia, if you'd like to join us, we're a program that I have. It's a 10-week kind of container to take this, and it's awesome. My intention over the course of the 10 weeks is by the end that people don't recognize themselves energetically from when they began. And it's called La Femme Salon, 10 weeks to find your fire, freedom, and fulfillment. And we go through exercises. There's introspective exercises to bring forth some of the patterns and the life themes that are coming together, and then we weave them together, and we do the release work at the same time. But you'll build your confidence. You'll be surrounded and loved up to the nth degree to fully spread your wings and be ready to fly. Gina, it looked like you unmuted for a second. Okay. Yeah, so that's going to be starting in a couple weeks, April 16th. And actually, Kim and Gina both are going to be doing it. So I'm super jazzed to have you both, because I just sense how ready you are to find this thing and fully step into it. And you will be, like I said, just so loved and supported through the journey. It's really extraordinary. But
I can't wait to start it.
I know. So I'll put together the first exercise. I think I already promised it to you, and I haven't sent it yet, but it's called timelining, and it'll be looking back, and it's fascinating because it's similar to what we've done before in the past, of where you kind of go back and think of like 5 pivotal times in your life, like defining moments, but then we layer on a couple extra questions. It's like, oh my gosh, it completely creates this theme of like, well, of course that's what my purpose is here, you know? So it's fun because you get really grounded and clear about what it is. And yeah, from that, I say when the vision is clear, the decisions are easy. So what if, yeah, so that'll be the first thing, and I'll get it to you guys by Friday.
That sounds great. Thank you. One question. Do you have a book list on your website or anything you have quote a lot of good books that I would like to read. Is it anywhere in one place?
Tell you what, how about that? That can be a little to do for me. I'll send you maybe a list of my top 4 or 5 with the recordings to these calls. So in the email, I'll send a list of some of the books. But yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I've got some books I absolutely love along these lines. So awesome, ladies. Oh, I'm gonna to close with a prayer. I heard Marianne Williamson. I'll have to find my notes. Oh, which I can't. I grabbed the wrong notebook. Oh no. Oh, I'm gonna give a stab at it though. Just a wish for us all, a prayer. I think prayers can be, and the power of intention is so powerful. So I just wanted to bless us all and say, may we all join together in our hearts at this time for peace. May we have a prayer that the body and our consciousness be filled with light. May the mind of all humanity be filled with love. May the sick who are going through sickness now be healed. Come out with truth. May all of humanity be purified and the light of awareness shine upon the greed and maybe selfishness, the independence that maybe got us to this point. May it shine light that we are all connected, that we are being called towards unconditional love, and that love that lives within us already, that we may shine our gifts and bring them more fully to the world. May this all be a time of connection and opening and new growth, unconditional love, transformation for ourselves, for our families, for our society, and for the world. Awesome. So namaste, ladies. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for just being you. Appreciate you all.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the salon, Kim.
Yes, see you then.
Bye.
Bye.